All right.
Welcome back, almost everyone. I think we're waiting for a few more. Group one, it looks like you've made it back before the others, so hold tight for a moment. Everyone else is entering. Welcome back, everyone.
Okay, let's see how good you edited the piece. Good writing is good editing. Good communication, editing. Make it tighter, more concise, get to the point, use your words intentionally. Let's see what we did. Let's go through the three groups. Group number one.
Right, so that's Sarah Alfais, Swag, Mikel, Victoria, Julie, and Sarah. Who is your reporter?
I am Swag. All right, so I just shared my screen. Can everyone see that?
We can. Good.
Yeah.
All right, so I was trying 100-point font, but I don't know which font you were using, Carmine. So I think we're at 80 right now.
Good.
But our final sentence was consider three models: product, budget, and objective.
Oh, wow. Interesting. You actually even cut it down more than I did. I've got an example for you, but yours is even shorter. Good job. That's all I need to see on a screen too. That's a very, very good. Obviously I didn't expect anyone to do that, but you did a nice job. If it can't fit on 100-point font, then the theme or the one key message that you're trying to get across might be too much. Let's go back to the drawing board and see if we could edit it down. That's great. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for showing us too, a little show and tell. I love it. Who was group number two, Shiona? Do you recall who was in there?
Yeah, that's
I'm in there, and I'll put it.
Okay,
well.
So Ray DeLuca here.
Hey, Ray.
And so ours is three models to explain the opportunity: product, budget, and objective. We felt that the 97 words did not do a good job of explaining it in general, right? In other words, they used 97 words and they didn't even say the important things. So first is, what is this for? What are you trying to achieve with these three models would normally be in our first part. And product is pretty explainable, feature-based, budget, financial. We don't really know what objective means.
Sure, so it could just be their internal or his way of framing it, which he'll explain later.
But yeah, honestly, it should be simple enough that it explains it just on the name of the model, right? So like whatever the objective model is, maybe that's I don't know, a model that is the output of something, right? It should be clean enough that we can understand it off of the basic high level, which it isn't.
But Ray, that's a good point. Too many words actually weakens, waters down the power of a message. So if you were starting that, go back to what you had written. If you're starting that presentation, you want to grab my attention. Remember what Jim Van de Heij said, you got to grab people's attention. How would you start it again?
Well, first you have to do what's your objective, right? Explaining the opportunity is your objective. And whatever it is, like to raise revenue, three models to raise revenue.
I see what you mean. Perfect. Yeah, right. Good.
Right. And then it's product, budget, and objective, but objective means nothing, right? So it might be product, budget, and distribution.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then I can understand it. And I say, all right, if I'm trying to raise revenue, these are the three ways to do it.
Yeah.
That's
boss, I've got three ways to raise revenue. We'll choose one of the three. Model, product, and objective, which I'll explain. But you don't, in no way do you need almost 100 words. It waters down the message. Okay, let's go to group number three. That's good. Good job, Ray.
We followed group one here. Our simple sentence that we came up with from the 97 words was our three basic models are product, budget, and objective.
Yeah. And again, you can wordsmith this. What is the font that you used?
Oh, it was
How
whatever was set here. Calibri.
Yeah, no, I'm just, oh, it's 80 point. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
80 point
80.
font. So you see, this is actually a I wasn't going to get this far into it, but it is a very good exercise. Not just this particular exercise, but putting a message on a slide. Little known fact, I learned this from Guy Kawasaki, who worked directly with Steve Jobs, and he surprised me once. I had written a whole book on Steve Jobs, but I did not know this factoid, that Steve Jobs preferred 190 point font. And he did that because it reduces the number of words that you can put on a slide, which requires what? Real storytelling. It requires you to really know and understand and talk about the product in a way that gets people excited. Bullet points on a slide don't inspire people. Yes, of course, we need those, and it's important to have much more robust information in your slides. But when it comes to getting your point across and your key messages, why do I need to clutter my slide with too many bullet points? It just detracts from the message. As I'm sharing my slide, any questions on that type of simplicity? Oh, let me show this to you. I did it myself. I went through the exercise myself. I took the angle of saying, okay, if I were to, let's think about my own slide. What would my slide need to say? 3 models, 1, 2, and 3. So I can get it down by 2/3. I can cut this down by 2/3. I would say today I'll review 3 models. The first is called a product model. The second is a budget model, and the third is an objective model. I'll review each one and conclude with my recommendation. So in 33 words, okay, if I'm your listener, I get it. And why do I have to water down the power of your presence and your message with a cluttered slide that I can't read? I like simple, minimalistic slides whenever possible. Obviously, some slides are going to have data and charts. We're going to get into that. You can simplify that as well. I'm not asking you to only have 1 word on each slide. I'm not asking that at all. But I am suggesting that you think intentionally about every word you choose. We're going to be moving on to other writing tools, but before we do, any questions on or comments or observations on simplifying by condensing, not just by condensing, but by selecting a few words, selecting the right words and not condensing everything you know? Okay, we are good. We're good to move on. If you have any questions, you could also leave them for the end.
Yep, please do. I'm looking for raised
Yep.
hands or
It's okay.
comments in the chat, or we'll pick this up.
Yeah,
in the
no problem. Okay, let's move on because I've got some really fun exercises to show you. On page 8, we're going to focus on writing for the last part of this first session. More on writing, because writing is the foundation of everything we're going to do as communicators and as leaders. You may not consider yourself a novelist, and that's okay. We're not here to be novelists. We're not here to be Shakespeare. Remember what Warren Buffett said. But everything does start with the written word, if you think about it. A successful leader will develop writing habits to engage readers in emails. An email can be shorter, tighter, more to the point. How about a memo? Documents, memos that you post on your company's intranet. We are in asynchronous world now. We're very hybrid. People are in remote regions. They're not on the same time, same culture, same country, even different languages. So everything that you post that they are not seeing or hearing in real time has to be intentionally written, carefully chosen words, and of course, a business presentation. I don't know too many people. If you do this, you'd be one of the few. There aren't too many people who just open a PowerPoint and start talking. It usually starts with writing somewhere. They've got notes in their notepad or in the presentation notes. So it still comes back to the written word. And as long as it's written down, we can edit. Good communicators are, like good writers, good editors. Condensing, simplifying, changing words, being more intentional about the words. As I mentioned, I had read and analyzed all of the 24 shareholder letters that Jeff Bezos wrote over the course of his career as the CEO and the founder of Amazon. Well, again, one of the reasons is because real experts suggested that I look into it. This is Jean-Louis Gasset. He is a former Apple executive, and he became a prominent venture capitalist where I live in Silicon Valley. And here's what he told me when he learned that I was writing about Jeff Bezos. He said, the more I read Jeff Bezos's annual letter to Amazon shareholders, I became convinced that they give us a unique opportunity to see a genius explain his work. Bezos's letters make splendid material for a business school course on strategy and communication. I'd love to teach it if I were 20 years younger. Well, Jean-Louis Gasset is not here, but I'm teaching it for you. So let's go through just a few writing tools, but not rules. I don't like to use writing rules. We're not here to be perfect grammarians. This is not a creative writing course. So let's not get too hung up on rules, because rules can be pretty rigid. Let me give you an example. This particular Instagram post by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came out in 2019, and I noticed that it was the top or number one most popular post of that year. So I guess Instagram rates their posts every year. I don't know what got into me, but I decided to take that text and put it through grammar software. It came back with about 5 problems. One of which is in the first sentence, our Hawaiian wedding was beautiful. That should be followed by a comma, because "and" is a coordinating conjunction and a compound sentence. But did it take away from the popularity of the tweet? No, of course not. Rules are rules. It's good to understand them. But when it comes to just business writing, let's just look at some tools. A few tools that good business writers have in common. And let's not get too hung up on the rules. So number one, this is again on page 8. I not only read a lot of English books, but I spoke to English grammar experts around the world, people who are very prominent in their field. And they all seem to identify just several tools that will significantly enhance the quality of your business writing and presentations, especially as a leader. This is one you've heard of. Just as a reminder, the active voice. This is where the subject of the sentence performs the action. Subject, verb, object. Subject, verb, object. If you can just remember that, you'll be a significantly better writer. I still keep the print edition of newspapers. I have digital subscriptions, of course, but I like the print because I don't know about you. I need something tactile during the day, one thing. I can't just be scrolling all the time. So I still do this. But what I've noticed is that when you are looking at a newspaper has a particular challenge. And what they have to do is condense, make sure only a few words fit in the very limited space they have. So almost every headline is subject, verb, object. So if you look at here, let's see right here, U.S. China, and there we go. There's my camera. U.S. China talk to smooth tensions. In one sentence, I know a lot about this. Who's the subject? U.S., China, those two countries. What are they doing? They're talking. Why are they talking? To smooth tensions. Good. That's an important thing. The details are things like, what was the outcome of their first meeting? Who was involved in the meeting? What are some topics they're talking about? Those are the details. But if I just wanted to deliver that key message in one sentence, it's subject, verb, object. And you'll see this all the time in everything. Let's see, who is in talks to buy the Raiders? This is a U.S. sports related. Tom Brady. So Tom Brady, one of our American football heroes, Tom Brady is in talks to buy stake in the Raiders. Who is doing what? Subject, verb, object. If that's all you do is focus on subject, word, object, active voice, you'll be a much better writer in everything you do. Stephen King has a problem with the opposite, which is the passive voice. He says 2 pages of the passive voice in any business document makes me want to scream. It's weak, it's circuitous, and it's frequently torturous as well. Obviously, he's having some fun with words there. Energize your prose with active verbs. Subject, verb, object. Powerful novels, great writing. It's almost all subject, verb, object. Ian Fleming was very, very much known for this. James Bond, subject. What did he do? Climbed, unlocked, bolted the door. The other thing is to think about the verbs you use. Subject, verb, object, and make sure that you pay particular attention to the verbs. Now, if I go back to the Bezos letters, again, I told you I put them all through a software program. 94% of those, the words and the sentences were active voice. Amazon fuels this. Amazon does this. Amazon's customers love the new Kindle. Subject, verb, object. It makes your sentences shorter, concise, gets to the point. So I learned a lot about this while I was researching my new book. I think I told you I spoke to a lot of English experts from around the world. Well, there's a woman in particular, she's a grandmotherly type, who's really become popular in teaching English. We'll talk about English here. And her name is Jill. She lives in the UK. I put this up because it's still unbelievable to me. She has nearly 2 million YouTube subscribers. Jill teaches English. She has a lot of fun with the English language. And she's also very, she's to the point. And she schooled me when it came to the active voice. Here's an excerpt from our conversation. The active versus the passive sentence. Can you please explain the difference between the two? And then we can use some examples.
Okay, so the active form, that's preferable most of the time because it means you're saying that somebody did something to somebody else or to an object. So it's subject, verb, object. So the boy kicked the ball. The boy is the subject because the boy does the action. Kicked, that is the action, that's the verb. And then what did he kick? He kicked the ball, so the ball is the object. So, so you get a clear picture in the right order, really. There's a boy and he kicks. What does he kick? The ball.
What's wrong with saying the ball was kicked by the boy? I still understand what it means. It means exactly the same thing.
I'd say that's a bit clumsy to say the ball was kicked by the boy because it seems unnecessary to put it that way round. Why is the ball? It's turning the ball into a subject, starting with the ball. The ball was what? Oh, the ball was kicked. Oh, okay, the ball was kicked. It sounds odd.
I really like her. So it sounds clumsy and it sounds odd. So avoid it when you can. But rules are meant to be broken, aren't they? Let me show you. This is an example of a rule that is meant to be broken sometimes. This is an active sentence. Let's say you're sending out an urgent email. Hackers broke into our computers. Subject is the hackers. What did they do? The verb is broke into our computers. Hackers broke into our computers. Grammatically active sentence. Okay, but is that the subject of the sentence? If you want to get an urgent message across, you might want to say, our computers were broken into by hackers. So anytime you see by something, it signals that it's passive language. But that's okay. This is okay. So rules are meant to be broken, but for the most part, especially in slides and key messages, the active voice is very powerful. Again, these are simple, just 3 simple things to improve your business writing and your
Carmine.
presentations.
Carmine Mohammed. has
Yes.
his hand up. Let's hear from Mohammed.
Oh, good. Thank you, because I can't see all the thumbnails while I'm presenting. Thank you. Mohammed?
No, thank you so much. No, just to try to understand. So if we used the by, which is the passive, it's not advisable. So we use the boy kicked the ball. That's simpler, direct, much better than the ball was kicked by the boy. Is that correct, my understanding?
Oh, yes, it absolutely is correct. In fact, that is the reason why grammar and English writing experts use that sentence. It's one of the simplest sentences to understand. It's subject, verb, object. Yes, it's shorter, it's fewer words. And even with something that simple, what you're talking about, your message, Mohammed, is much more complicated. But even in something that simple as the boy kicked the ball, as soon as you say the ball was kicked by the boy, your brain has to kind of think about it for just a second. Just like a little extra, boy was kicked. Ball was kicked? Oh, ball was kicked by the boy. So that's why anyone who instructs in English writing, almost every single person I talk to does tend to say, if there's one thing you should tell people, it's strive for the active voice when possible.
Yeah, thank you. Because I remember back. Yeah, it's very clear. Because I remember when I was doing my thesis, I had to add so many words just to make sure that I reached the maximum words counting. But
I know exactly where you're going with
opposite.
this. We have to add words for certain things. And now I'm telling you, now that you're growing as a leader, we're going to go the opposite way and start reducing the number of words we use to come across more assertively. Let's go to page 10. The second tip I'd like to offer you, and this is kind of interesting. Avoid weasel words. Weasel words. What are weasel words? Weasel words are words that are vague, unnecessary. They're not specific. Eliminate these words if your goal is to persuade and influence. What exactly does that mean? What are we talking about? Jonah Berger is a Wharton marketing professor who recently came out with a book called Magic Words. So I had a conversation with Jonah about this, and he too agrees with me. He calls them hedge words. Words like might, could, those are called hedges. They express ambiguity, caution, or indecisiveness, the traits that you do not want as a leader. Take a look at page 9, and you'll see that there's a few, I have a whole list of what could be considered hedge words, okay? Words that add words, but don't really tell me anything. Let's be as specific as possible whenever you're using words. So I'm not going to spend too much time on there. You can look at page 9. And finally, parallel structure on page 10. That's the third tip. This is really going to help you with your PowerPoint presentations. Parallel structure simply means that the words follow a pattern. We all know who these guys are, don't we? John, Paul, George, and the guy who played the drums. Oh, no, that sounds odd. No, that's Ringo. John, Paul, George, Ringo. Parallel structure. I find that really good presenters, especially at Apple spends a lot of time and a lot of money and resources developing their presentations. So when you look at the wording on the presentations, they're very much parallel, staying connected, finding using, exploring. So this particular slide is all ing words. And that's why mine are parallel too. So there's 3 tools for effective writing. Write in the active voice, avoid, use. Write, avoid, use. So again, just these are some things to catch yourself as you are beginning the written portion of your presentation. And I would suggest to write it down so that you can go back and edit. Because as Jeff Bezos said, anytime you make something simpler and lower friction, you get more of it. And he meant that in everything from web design, from the way your customers interact with an e-commerce site. You make it easier, reduce the friction that it takes for them to buy something that they like, and you'll get more of that behavior. And it's the same with communication. Lower the friction, lower the noise, and simply focus on those key messages, and you'll get more out of it. I'm going to end with this today. This is Surbi Sarna. Surbi Sarna and I have just started to get to know each other. She is a partner at Y Combinator. Y Combinator is a Silicon Valley investment firm that is behind some of the biggest companies in the world, including Airbnb. If it hadn't been for Y Combinator, there would be no Airbnb. So it's a very influential what's called a seed investment firm or an accelerator. Sarni, before she joined Y Combinator as a partner, started a healthcare company and sold it for $285 million. Over the span of about 10 years, she built out a healthcare company. Watch her reaction when I talk about this concept of making your language and your presentations simple. Simple being the new superpower. Here's what she said. You also learned the power of simplicity, and you write that simplicity is underrated. Tell us about that.
Oh, man. I think that for a long time, especially in scientific fields, but just generally, if you use big words and acronyms, I think that you are taught to believe that people will then think you are smart.
Yeah.
And in reality, most people, they have an idea of how intelligent they are. And if you're saying something by using long, complicated, scientific jargon or whatever it might be, acronyms about, related to generative AI, and it might make you feel smart, but the other person has zoned out. They're not thinking, oh, I'm so dumb, I can't understand this person. Let me ask a clarifying question. They're just thinking, okay, I'm bored. I couldn't follow what the story is, and therefore I tuned it out. That's what happens to people, especially these days, right? We all know attention spans are going down a little bit. There's instant information at our fingertips all the time. Look, if you can't say your story in a simple way, chances are you lost an audience that maybe would have been more interested if you just use simple language.
So what I really like about that is Surbi has come to that realization. She didn't understand that or appreciate it when she first started her company, even though she has great education, business school degrees, credentials. She knows science. She knew healthcare, but no one taught her the power of this kind of simplicity, which is why you're here and we're learning it. Some of this obviously is going to be not new to you, but maybe it's going to help you look at it differently through the lens of what you're doing now in leadership, where your primary goal, as Dan Pink said, bringing it back to the top, is to sell your ideas, to influence, to persuade. We have some homework before Wednesday's session. Let's look on page 11, and I will tell you your homework. 2 things. One is we'd like you to review this video clip. We're going to really get into storytelling in session 2. Review a video clip. This is from a Steve Jobs presentation. This is from his most famous presentation. It's only a 10-minute clip, 10 minutes. Make notes on how does he organize the structure of the content? Because this is very intentional. I'll take you behind the scenes when we get back. Very intentional, the way it's created. It's created like a story. So just watch it, take a few notes, and be prepared to talk about it when we get back. The second thing, I'm previewing something that's going to happen in the fourth session. We are looking for a volunteer, somebody who can give us a sample of what they're working on. It could be a presentation. It can be an important email that they're sending out. It can be a document. We will introduce a concept called a message map, where you can take almost any complex idea and condense it into something that's visual, clean, and easy to follow. Vanessa and I will do that for you. We're going to work on that with you, but we need a sample. So if anybody has a sample of a presentation, an email, an important document that we can use as an example to apply this concept, please let us know in chat or email Shiona and let us know. And we'll work with you on that. But that's just want to plant that seed for our fourth and final session. But for the next session on Wednesday at this same time, let's go ahead and watch that iPhone presentation, considered one of the great presentations of all time. Why? What does he do? We'll talk about it. Shiona, why don't you wrap us up for today?
Yeah, perfect, Carmine. Thank you so much. I can see already that Mohammed is volunteering. And I will say, if there's anyone else, you can either post in chat now or email me after the class. And I will make sure Vanessa and Carmine have all the names of the volunteers for that extra piece, that extra homework. To close out today, I am posting in the chat our evaluation of today's segment, and I'm going to ask for a few moments of quiet reflection. Our team really likes to read your comments. We will share this evaluation with Carmine momentarily, so please give us comments. It'll inform how we structure days 2 and onward. So a moment of pause while you complete the evaluation. Perfect. Thank you everyone for your time. We're actually a few minutes early, so we can begin our open mic now. For those of you who do need to leave in about 2 minutes, we certainly understand that. A reminder that we will post today's slides on our course website. You have all the full resources there. And we look forward to seeing you back here Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time for our day 2. So, but without further ado, for those of you who can stay on, and for those of you who have questions, please unmute. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
This is what I call the, like Reddit has a string, it's called Ask Me Anything. This is the Ask Me Anything portion. So for those of you who have to leave, nice seeing you. I'll see you on Wednesday, same time. And anyone else who'd just like to stay and chat, we can do that too. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Carmine. So
Okay. Let me get to, hey, Sarah, how are you? Who is that speaking?
Sorry, that was Swag. Sorry, I didn't put my hand up.
Oh, hi, Swag.
Yep.
Hey.
If you had to recommend like your top 3 books or resources to kind of keep in your back pocket at all times on communication, or even if it's just one, doesn't have to be top 3, but what would those be?
Okay. For communication, I would do, well, if I can throw in one of my books, that would be the Talk Like TED, because that is the first book that really revealed step by step how these great TED speakers deliver these great presentations. And it's not about how to get a TED Talk. That's actually not what the book is about. It's called Talk Like TED, and it has sort of the 9 elements that any good presentation would have to have. And I based it on speaking to a lot of people who had given TED Talks that had eventually gone viral. So that's not a bad book if it's a good book for presentation skills, like, just to improve and to get you to think differently about presentations. So the other book that is on my list, you saw a video by Jim Van de Heye, who is the co-founder of Axios. And Jim wrote a book called Smart Brevity. One of my books have kind of been named in the same category. I think when the New York Times came out, they recommended books on writing, and one of them was the Bezos Blueprint. One of them was Smart Brevity. I know I've got a copy at home. I'm not sure if I have it here in my office because I've been referring to it quite a bit. That's why I don't have it here. It's a very thin book, Swag, but it's really good at everything we just talked about, is this whole idea of simplicity. But the reason why I like it is because it reinforces why it's important to keep things simple in this new digital economy. Because I have access to research, I have access to people and good communicators. They've got a lot of data behind the scenes. So imagine they've got all these millions of data sets constantly about what people are reading, how they're reading, how many words should be in the subject of an email. You can only do that by looking at the data. So Smart Brevity does a pretty good job of simplicity and explaining simplicity in a way that you can use instantly to become a better business writer. So those are the 2 I would recommend. And then other than that, I don't read a lot of books just on communication. I read a lot of books about people who are great speakers, and I try to adapt what they've learned.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help, Swag?
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
You're in Maryland, did you say, right? In DC?
Yeah, right outside DC. Yep.
Yeah.
So I thank you.
And look, if there's any good books that you've read, because good communicators really read a lot of books. So if you have any good books, just throw them in the chat or send them my way.
Thank you, Swag. I just want to recognize Julie has had to leave us, but she did have her hand up momentarily.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, that's okay. It was just at that transition. So I will loop back to Julie to see if she has a question she'd like to pose on day 2.
All right. Good.
And then Victoria, I know you posted in chat, so you may want to take that up now. Thank you. Oh, Victoria, you're muted. Victoria, we can't hear you. You're still muted. Yep.
Yeah, I was wanting to ask Carmine, what do you think about Malcolm Gladwell's way of communicating? Because it's very different from any of the people that we've been talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
Effective.
And yet he's really effective. He's really effective as a speaker, and he's effective as a writer. And I enjoy Malcolm Gladwell.
He's very convoluted.
He takes a while to get to the stories. Yeah. But Victoria, I would say that writing a book is a little different than giving a business presentation.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, that's why it's a different form. And I enjoy reading books and waiting till the end of the chapter, to get to the point. That's the Malcolm Gladwell style. I did a little of that in one of my books called The Storyteller's Secret, where I wrote a story and it was several paragraphs, and then it got deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you find out who the famous person was and what they learned. But I wouldn't do that in a business presentation because that's not the way people want to get their information.
Gladwell is more of an entertainer, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I like the idea of keeping your business presentation, of getting to the point early, and there's research for that too. Get to the point early, keep it concise, which is why I offer certain tactics like active sentences, which you don't see in a lot of books either, right? A lot of good writing is very passive. But that's why Stephen King said it ruins business presentations. It ruins the average business memo.
Right.
He wasn't talking about to a novelist. He was talking to the average business presentation. 2 pages of the active voice make me want, or passive voice make me want to scream. So yeah, there is a lot of research now that shows get to the point and get to it quickly, because people are going to start tuning out as they think about, where's Victoria going with all this? Sounds kind of interesting story, but we've got 10 minutes for this meeting. What's your point? So it is a little different, but I'm not saying you can't be creative. And I love trying to be creative, even in business presentations, how to grab people's attention. But when it comes to sort of the basics of writing, I find that, Victoria, we're not talking about people who have creative writing background in their or creative writing in their background. Especially a lot of the people I work with, they're engineers, computer scientists. Very few of them studied English literature or creative writing. So I recommend some of the basics that maybe people don't always think about, but if we could just tackle a few tools, it'll make your writing stand out.
Sarah and Rob, Molly, not heard from you yet, but certainly if you have a question or insight, please unmute.
I had a quick question on hedging words. So I work in the government. A lot of what I do is write spend plans, country strategic plans, that sort of thing. And I find that we use a lot of hedging language because we are accountable to the American taxpayer. So we can't make grand statements and promises that we can't follow through on.
Sure.
Also, everything has like 500 iterations and has to be improved or approved by interagency partners. So how would you maybe adapt or use that advice to be direct and concise in a scenario when maybe you can't be definitive all the time?
Yeah. Amazon teaches this too, and they actually do use weasel words. This is one of their things that they teach in writing. You can't be too general all the time, because then it really does water down your impact as a leader. So yes, if you can't be definitive, that's one thing. But if you can be somewhat definitive, it really helps. By saying, how about this, Sarah? What if I were to say, I put a lot of research, I put a significant amount of research into this. And I think that if you follow my proposal, we can really improve or boost our revenue by a lot. It might work. Okay, that's not assertive. It's not going to get me anywhere as a leader. No one's going to be impressed by me. My boss, my peers are not really going to be impressed with this person who I'm trying to elevate myself as a leader. But simply by trying to make it more specific, I've spent 3 months of research on this proposal. And out of that research, I believe that if we follow this plan, it'll improve our revenue by at least 5%. And that could be lower or higher, but 5% is a good number for us to look at. And I'll show you why. I'll give you the evidence. Oh, okay. So it's a little more specific. It's more assertive. What Jonah Berger was saying and what Amazon says is there's too many words that are just so empty and so general that it doesn't give anyone the impression of confidence, like this person really knows what they're trying to say. Obviously, when you have to be general because it's a particular government writing, that's different, Sarah. But when you're the more specific you can be, the better. And it also just has to do with reducing superfluous words. So if you look at page 9, why can't you just use one word instead of a long sentence? Due to the fact, this is government language too, you know this. There's a lot of conditions at the beginning of a sentence. Due to the fact of, okay, how about just because? During the course of, how about just during? I've performed an analysis and an evaluation of, okay, how about I analyze this? Again, these are just, and some of these are from Amazon too, because they do teach leaders writing skills. And one of the things they teach is be more impactful by being more specific. Look at the ones on top. I think those 4 are the ones that are from Amazon. Senior leaders don't like, it might bring clarity to the situation. So my presentation and what I found might bring clarity. Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to spend the next 20 minutes if it might bring clarity. It should result in benefits. I don't know. We could try it. Yeah, that's very passive. It's not assertive. And one of the reasons why you're here, Sarah, I hope, is that you want to come across as a confident leader. And Jonah and I were talking about the fact that, and he's done some research at Wharton, too many hedge words lower your impact that you're making on other people. So that's the point. Just want to give you some tools and techniques to come across as more confident and assertive in the language you use. But yes, of course, to be being accurate, the moment you're like, when we say hedging, this is really important. It's a good point, Sarah. When we say hedging, it's not exaggerating to the point of hyperbole with no evidence. Then that's going to diminish your influence pretty quickly once they see through that. So it's a balance. But this is hard. This is hard. This is advanced communication, and it's not always black and white. Good, great. Any other questions or maybe observations of your own communication habits or anything you've seen?
Hey, Carmine, at the start of the presentation today, and it just kind of came to the top of my head as you were talking through this, it was like a Grammarly Go ad. Do you have any like recommended like editors for any type of business writing that you think does a better job than others?
Grammarly. Yeah. I like Grammarly. I use Grammarly myself for almost all of the writing that I do for Inc. and Forbes and other platforms. I'll run it through Grammarly at the end. And in every case, it catches some things that could be tighter. It'll flag passive sentences. But in some cases, I like that passive sentence. There's a reason for that. Our computers were broken into. That's what's important. So, but they too realize that the active sentence is stronger than the passive. So it flags those type of things. But it also kind of forces you too. It forces you to justify why you're writing the way you're writing. And oftentimes I've had to think about it. Okay, well, maybe it's not perfect grammar, but why it works. It works really well there. Or other times it'll flag it and I realize, yeah, it could be tighter. If anything, it makes it tighter. So you take long words and cut it into and condense it, just like that exercise we did. Because it'll flag, these are unnecessary. And when you think about it and look at it objectively, you realize, yeah, it's probably right. Those are unnecessary. So I like Grammarly as a tool.
Awesome. Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your extra time with us.
I see somebody left the chat here. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, Victoria, some of us
embarrassment.
Okay, that's fine. You know what? Some of us might, people can chime in. I'll look at that too. I'll look at that later.
Terrific.
Okay, excellent.
Well, thank you all. If there's, I'm going to pause one more moment. Sarah, I don't know if you have a question.
Actually, I'm just enjoying the discussion, so.
Sure.
Oh, good. Yeah, great. Good.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
excellent.
thank you.
It's nice to get to meet you folks.
Terrific.
You too.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you all for taking time out of your morning or your middle of your day or late evening. We'll see you all back here on Wednesday. Please keep your insights coming. And we look forward to our next class. Thank you, Carmine.
Storytelling on Wednesday. Okay, I'll see you then. Thanks,
All right.
Shiona. Thanks, everyone. Bye.